So we're just going to go over some of the prep work for our tea light candles and our cups and teacups candles. I've also found a jar in the cupboard that we're also going to use. So we'll start with that one. So with that, the wick I'm using is just the standard already wax, it's covered with wax, and it has the holder on the bottom. Now all I've done is put one of these double-sided tape stickies, which usually will come with the wax depending on where you buy them. It will usually come with the wicks, sorry. And all I'm going to do is just push it down so that it sticks to the center. Now my fingers aren't quite long enough, so we'll use these scissors just to make sure that it's stuck down. Okay, like so. Okay, so that's how we do that one. Now for the teacup, I'm not sure if you can sort of see, but I will tip it up. I've had to sort of root around in the cupboard to try and find something that I could use because my peg wasn't long enough. I'm trying something new with this one. Because the circular wicks don't seem to burn as well, what I've done is I've put a material wick through the middle of it, through the center, which you can see sticking out at the top here. So we're just going to see how that one goes. I'll pour the candle, and once it's set, we'll give it a quick little burn and see how it goes. With the teacups, all I've done is the exact same technique. I've used the sticker on the bottom to stick it down, stick the wick down, and then just use the peg to keep it taut. Now with this one, I'm going to try and tip it up. All I've used is this double-sided sticker in the bottom and just an offcut of the wick that I used here. So don't throw your offcuts away because you can always use them for other things. So I've managed to get it standing straight up and down here, which is a pretty good accomplishment. Now with the seashells, because the seashells curl and curl and curl, we don't want the wax to continue all the way through. What I would recommend is using some steel wool and stuffing it down as far as you can stuff it, and just keep doing that until it gets quite firm. This will stop you having to use a large amount of wax. Well, that's what I'm hoping. I haven't done this before, mind you, so we're all learning here. We'll see how it turns out. So just stuff all that steel wool there, and hopefully it will keep the wax all in. You don't want to use anything that's combustible for obvious reasons. Okay, and so we just do that with all three of these. Now I'm going to use some different techniques because of the size of these shells. They're all different, and I'm going to use a different wick, which I've got set up here. Now I have cleaned this out. They did come with quite a lot of sand, although before I took them from the beach, I made sure that there wasn't anything living in them anymore. So these are little homes that had been completely discarded. All right, so we've stuffed that in there for that one. This one I'm just, again, using an offcut. It sits perfectly in that particular shell. So it's really just trial and error with what materials you've got left and see what works. Okay, so we're just going to stuff that one as well. Now with the tea light candles, I mean, this is a store-bought tea light candle here, so there really isn't a lot of wax involved. So these seashells, they're perfect for that. Okay, so we've done that. So I think we'll just leave that wick like that. Give it a bit of a bend. Now this one, you can see that it sort of tips over. I'm hoping that as it gets filled with wax, that it sort of levels out and we don't get the tipping over. But if it does, you can always use a bit of double-sided tape to make sure that it stays, especially if you're going to burn it, because the last thing you want is for it to tip over and all the wax to spill out. Okay. All right, so we've done all those. So now with my wicks, I've got one here that's already pre-prepared. Now with this one, it's got the sticky side and it's got the wick stuck to it. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get all the steel wool out of the way, and I'm going to stick this as far down as I can. And of course it doesn't want to put the sticky side down. All right, so we put that in, use your little finger and stick the wick down. So So if you can see in there, we've stuck that down. Now all I'm going to do with this wick here, because this one sits on that angle, when I get it to sit up properly, all I'm going to do is use another peg. A peg might actually make it a little bit difficult to pour, but we'll see. If it does make it a little bit hard to pour because you can't get any, like there's no where you can pour into, you might need to take that off for the pour and just sit it up like that so it's out of the way. Pour the wick and wax in, and once you get it leveled out, then you can secure it with a peg or even just some tape or whatever you've got really that will keep it in place. Okay, so that one's stuck down now. We'll do the other ones. So these are the stickies that I'm talking about. They just peel off. Now they're double-sided, but you don't need to use double sides unless you have to. So for instance, for this one here, I had to use the double sides because I needed to stick it to the other side. So we're just going to do the same thing. I'm going to slide that, just let it slide down into the base. Like so. Push it down. So you can see that stuck in there now. And then we'll get peg. And clamp it on to secure it. And there you have it. Now this is the same sort of thing. You may need to take the peg off when you do the pour and then put the peg back on. It'll take a little while to set, so you will have time. Okay, and the last one here, we're going to do the same thing. We'll get the wick, stick it on like so. Okay, oh, stuck to my finger. Stick it on like that. Let it down to where you think the center will be when it sits. Okay. Oh, this one hasn't stuck. Some of the still wool in the way. Okay. Oh, that one's not sticking at all. So we might have a problem with. It's a little bit wet. Okay, so we might leave that one out. Leave that one out. Okay, so we've got those. So we've got a few to fill up here now. So what I might use this little one here. It's not quite the right length. Okay, so we'll do that one later. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go check my wax, make sure it's at the right temperature for pouring. If it's too hot, then we just take it out and let it cool down for a moment. If you're going to do 2 fragrances in 2 containers, make sure that you warm the second container up, just so when you pour the wax into it, it doesn't get a shock because it's going into a cold container. Sometimes that can cause you issues with the final result and the look. So our next step, as I said, we're going to take the wax out. We're going to add the fragrance. I'm doing 2 fragrances today. We're going to do a magnolia, and I think the other one I was going to do was gardenia. So we're going very floral today. And then after that, we'll do some decorating. I'm also going to attempt to do another rainbow. So as you can see, each attempt is always different. We did this one on one of our videos the other day. Came out completely different to this one. Used similar colors. The only color I didn't use in this one was the yellow. I used blue, but for some reason the blue didn't come through. We may, however, find the blue further down into the burn. I may do a time-lapse burn of these rainbow candles as well. That might be a good idea so everyone can see what they look like when they burn through. Okay,